I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with the feeder flash for Tuesday, June the 27th, where, last week we finished up $20 lower in 2 weeks that the Fed cattle traded. Your box beef cutout values had peaked and started selling sharply lower, especially late last week. We had a bearish cattle on feed report with placements more than 2% higher than what the analysts had expected. And everybody pretty much deciding that this market was going down into the dog day doldrums that it normally does this time of the summer. So what else should happen but the board go up the limit on Monday, both live cattle and feeder cattle for the August contracts, which makes a lot of sense there. But I don't think your cash market is buying it, and it's just more volatility and an opportunity for the traders there to make a little more money off of the rest of us. But you look at your August live cattle futures up the limit at $3. They were the only ones that were actually locked up the limit. The others were all close. Feeder cattle futures up the $450 limit, and most all the other nearby contracts were up that much too, and big gains on those way out front into next year. But not real sure, something that you don't ever hear in the cash market is oversold, and that's what they were saying. But it looked like maybe some of the traders were trying to push the market lower last week to try to get a bunch of these long speculators out of the market, and then they could write it down some more, but it didn't quite work for them, and then kind of snap back like a rubber band right in their face. But you look at the weighted average on last week's Fed cattle trade, that's something that we understand. 84,100 head in the 5-area feeding region. The weighted average on your live steers, 121.50, although your late sales were as low as 118. But that 121.50 was down $8.62 for the week. Dressed steer sales 193.80, although your late sales were mostly 190. But that 193.80 on the weighted average was down $12.14 for the week. But just big losses there. I mentioned your cattle on feed report, and everybody pretty much knows what that is by now. But your on feed inventories as of June the 1st were 0.5% bigger than estimations at 102.7. Your placements up a little over 2% than expectations at 112.2. And I did mention there yesterday on a report that during your spring months, the last 3 months there, your placements have been 600,000 more than last year. Now, we knew we had a bigger calf inventory, but man, it's really showing up. However, a lot of those weights, especially on this last report, were lighter cattle. And in fact, your cattle weighing over 8 on this last report were only about 2% bigger than the same report a year ago. So that helps a little, but still, we're going to have a lot of pressure, market-ready fed cattle pressure late in the summer and early in the fall. Marketings were exactly like they expected them to be, and they should be, because we know exactly how many cattle they kill every day. USDA reports it. But you look at your feeder cattle market early to start the week. Your real-time index on Beef Market Central late on Monday was at 144.20, 90 cents higher than the end of last week, which that's a positive note. That shows that we're selling these cattle in the auctions on Monday a little higher. What's interesting, you look at that CME index that latest come out at 145.84, down big time from the previous release at 148.18, so it's finally coming off the high horse too. But we're getting into the time of year where there's not many sales going to be around. Next week, pretty much everything going to be closed. The only sale that I saw that was going to have one of any size at all was Green City, Missouri Livestock Market having their big barbecue special on July the 5th. But usually some of your other sales have a special then too, and kind of riding on their coattails. Bassett, Nebraska, and some other ones, but they've all put them off until the week after. So, but we are getting into some big video sales. Superior has got a sale on June the 30th, and then they've got their big week in the Rockies July 10th through the 14th. But you know, Superior is not the only game in town, especially for you guys that watch too much RFD TV. There's other people out there selling cattle, including Cattle Country Video. They've got their own big video coming up June the 29th. That was going to be on top of Superior's late June sale, but Superior dropped theirs down to 1 day, so it's going to be 1 day off there. Cattle Country Video out of Torrington, Wyoming, and you can bid there online at cattleusa.com. And also big sale for Western Video Market, July 10th through the 12th, which is going to land right on that week in the Rockies, but be more Western type cattle, but be a lot of good ones on there. And you can bid on the Western Video Market right here at dvauction.com, or go to Western Video Market's website and it'll tie you right in to DV Auction's bidding console. But there's competition out there, so don't be mistaken there. Look at some Monday markets. Oklahoma City, 6,200 head. Feeders mostly steady there, which is a good sign. Anytime you see steady, that's a little bit of confidence in the market, especially going into a new week after we were down so hard. And Oklahoma City had sold most of their cattle before the board closed up the limit, and it just shows that there's good demand for cattle, but guys are just kind of working together and not really wanting to push the market anymore for them. Joplin at 6,700 head. Some of their late sales did see some benefit from the board, but they were mostly steady through the day, and then steady with some late sales as much as $5 higher there late in the day. But we saw some good sales up. Tri-State Livestock, McCook, Nebraska had a good sale. Farmers Ranchers Livestock in Salina, they're still not having their Thursday sales, so they had a good feeder cattle run on Monday there where they normally just have cows. But both of those sales saw cattle pushing 900 pounds, bringing well into the 150s. So nothing wrong with that market, but a good test of the market. No bells and whistles, nothing fancy, just a market you can count on. Joplin Regional Stockyards, our Monday at noon, had 113 head of steers, weighed 795 at 150, 250. That's your feeder flash for Tuesday.